Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine, thanks.
Yeah, you're like, but I know now that you're going to more sessions, like, I'll grab it. I mean, if I do jump on one. Right.
There you go. Enjoy.
Okay. Well, Jeremy, I'm gonna let you get started because you're the one with the food.
I know. What's it good?
Yeah, so, and so that, and I did it, and then after those weeks, then that's
Clean up when I mess up.
But,
Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started. I know you want to get rolling on this with all the great information we have coming up here, but I want to introduce myself. Those of you that don't know me, my name is Kyle Rice, and with security title, it's Jeremy Eaton, also with security title. Woohoo, Jeremy! We wanted to point out a couple things right now. You did get 2 flyers. One of those is we are teaming up, which is phenomenal because Jeremy's the man, and to ride his coattails is phenomenal on my part. So I've been doing this about 18 years out here in the Southeast Valley. Jeremy's been doing it's up to 40. I don't know what you're doing. Hello. But we've been doing this together, each of us, a long time, many years of experience. So we'd love to sit down with you, go over your business plan, see what we can do to help you. We do have a class coming up. When's that? The 29th. Right there.
Yeah,
Yes.
flyer in front of you.
Flyer in front of you. It's going to be on, we did an MLS class, a 101 class. This one we're calling 202. It's kind of mid-level. It'll talk about everything from some of the CMA stuff, statistical buyer CMA compared to Monsoon, compared to RPR. The biggest thing though are the portals and the subscriptions. So if you're not doing subscriptions, definitely check that out. Those are the auto emails that go out to your clients where they can tell if they're viewing it, looking at it. Check that class out though. It's going to be a lot of fun, but only if you come. It won't be as much fun if you're not here, so we really want you to be here. Something that we did want to do with this class though is we have a drive going on here at Keller Williams, right? And we're asking that you bring in a toy, unwrapped. We want to do that. We want to contribute to your drive. So if you could bring something to the class, just if you haven't done that yet, just try to do that. It's for a great cause.
Not this class, that class.
Go out and get it.
Bring a toy.
Go get it and come back with a toy right now.
No.
But that's what we have going.
So you will notice we're doing a lot of classes. You'll see, especially if you guys are on your Facebook group page, and if not, we'll be sending out emails on all the classes that we have coming up. That's kind of to help you in the systems, right? Like there's different ones. You have a time management class that's coming up in December.
That's on the
as well.
13th of December.
So there's all those, but on top of that, when it comes to marketing land and really helping connect the dots with where you're currently at in your business, wherever that is, to where you want to be, that's what we really specialize in. We have the marketing tools, the support, the expertise. Our assistant is absolutely dynamite. She's on fire. So when we're out doing stuff like this, there's somebody who's sitting in the office taking care of all the requests that come in. All of our emails auto forward to her when they're from the brokerage. So just want to make sure that you understand that when it comes to helping grow your business and making you look really good in the process and making it really simplified for you, we're really good at that. And I mean it. So if we haven't, we already work with a lot of you guys in the room, but if we're not currently working together, even if you're on a team and you just want to pick our brain about something, we'll help you. We understand that, in that case, sometimes you don't really have a choice. We'll still help you because we believe in helping people. You guys enjoy the class. Breakfast will be here in about 10 minutes. Panera's running a little bit late, but it'll be worth the wait. So enjoy your session today, you guys.
thank you.
That was groovy.
Good morning. My name is Lori Tuter, and we're going to be talking about Win the Buyer today. But before we get started, I'd like to hear from you guys. If you could just quickly tell me your name, how long you've been in real estate or with Keller Williams, if you're new to Keller Williams and real estate, or if you're just new to Keller Williams, and maybe what you did before, because a lot of us here, I think, are making career transitions. I certainly did when I came to Keller Williams almost 5 years ago. Before we get started, I'll tell you a little bit about me. My 5th anniversary is January, so just coming up at 5 years. Before I was in real estate, I was a sales manager for a 55 plus community, so I sold homes, manufactured homes, so I sold it on the chattel side versus the real estate side. And then before that, actually, I was a therapist. I did counseling with kids in foster care. I had parents who had kids in foster care back when I lived in Kansas City. I have a 17-year-old son who is getting ready to graduate from high school, so I promise not to have a nervous breakdown here, but I will probably have one in the near future. A little piece of trivia, he is a swimmer. The fall swim team is a part of the, they do like a sports assembly. And so all the different teams go and do like a little skit, and all the swimmers did a dance to Baby Shark, which was absolutely hilarious. So that's my bit of trivia. My husband and I have been married for almost 19 years. We've been married for 19 years, so next year will be 20. And I've lived in Mesa for 15 years. So to say that I had big transitions in my life is a bit of an understatement. So please feel free to ask questions. I don't consider this to be a class. I just consider this to be a discussion. I always learn stuff when I teach Ignite, and so I
just want to, this is Aubrey. Aubrey is setting up at the school. She's going to become a realtor, but she's waiting to get all her stuff done. So can she sit in the class for about 15 minutes?
Absolutely. That's what I did. I actually came to Ignite before I was licensed. So please come in, grab a seat, make yourself comfortable.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll come back. I'll signal.
Okay.
I'll signal through the window, and then you guys can let her know. Who's off in.
Hi, welcome. I went to real estate school over about a 2 to 3 month period because I was transitioning out of a job I'd been in for 10 years. So I actually started like jumping into different Ignite classes when I had time. So I got the award of the longest unlicensed Ignite member. So I think I still have a certificate somewhere. So anyway, like I said, I consider this is not a class, this is a discussion. We learn from each other. I hope there's going to be some things that I can share with you today that are going to help you guys with your business. Really the reason I'm here is I just so much believe in pay it forward. And Keller Williams Integrity First has invested so much in me. There's not enough I could do to pay it forward. So that's why I'm here today, and I hope that there's something that I can share that's going to help you guys out. So please introduce yourselves.
My name's Mallory. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I'm gonna say that again. I'm on Tia Moore's team. I've been licensed for a week and a half now.
Awesome.
This is my second time taking Ignite, so yeah. So before I was licensed, I was in the banking industry for 10 years.
Okay,
so.
great.
My name's Corey. I'm on the Kenny Cross team. I've been in real estate about a year, but I just joined Integrity First about a month ago. Then what I did before this was property management. So.
Great.
Alicia, and I actually got my license about a month ago.
Great. Congratulations.
Yeah. And before this, my interns, and I had my own
Okay. Great. So you're a business owner. Okay. A lot of skills you're going to bring over from that.
I'm
Yeah.
Audrey. Sorry, were you? Just joking on it. I'm Audrey. I just moved here from Northern California. I did hair for 6 years, and now I'm switching careers. So this is all new to me. I'm going to the school here to get my license, and I guess I'm gonna watch you here for 10 minutes and see.
Okay, great.
I'm Michelle. I got my license back in August. I switched over to EXP a few weeks ago, but I'm with Biltmore Partners with Keller Williams in Phoenix. This is just a lot closer. Before this, like you, I was at a 55 plus resort. I was the activity director there.
Okay. That's a tough job.
It's-
You know what the
we had
difference is?
5,000 residents.
Yeah. You know what the difference is between a 55 plus community and a junior high? Hair. The hair.
Oh, yeah.
They're crazy. They are crazy. The behavior and the expectations are very much the same as a junior high and 55 plus community. They are crazy. So yes, a lot of fun, but crazy.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Susan Robinson. I've been here since the middle of June, and I was like you. The way Amanda got me here is she's like, hey, Ignite's starting. I'll print out the packet. Why don't you just go and just see what you think?
Yeah.
And I started going, and I just kept on going.
Right.
So this isn't the first time I've taken it, but there's different instructors, and I learn something new every single time. So right now I'm in Bold, I'm in Ignite, and I'm doing my first buyer deal right now. So it's busy. And I have 4 kids. My 2 daughters are just having my first 2 grandchildren, and my 2 boys, it's busy, but I'm a new empty nester. So now I have time to branch out and do something like this.
Great. Well, congratulations on all fronts.
Thanks.
I'm Sarah Anderson.
They grow up really fast.
They do, yeah.
Hi, I'm Carly Brown. I've been in business about a year and a bit, like a couple months. I'm on Chobani dialysis team, the aging home team. I've only done 2 jobs my whole life. So when I was a kid, I was a lifeguard and swimming coach, and I've been in real estate ever since. So my husband is an airline pilot, so his job's kind of taking us all over. So before coming to Arizona, I was a real estate agent in the Middle East in Cairo.
Wow.
Yeah, that was different.
I bet. I bet. Well, welcome. Jeff,
Good morning, Lori.
how are you?
Good. Been in this office the last 5 years, and I wouldn't think of going anyplace else.
Nope.
Nope. Let's see, for the last 25 years, I did tax returns for people setting up trusts. So that ended 2-3 months ago, so here I am for.
It's been part-time for a long time, so welcome to full-time.
Yes.
I'm Bob Rich. I passed my license exam about 2 months ago. For the 4th time, I think I passed the real estate exam now. But I've always done it part-time and kind of trying to go full-time now. Get a little more transactions done than time is taking the
Yeah.
test.
Well, this is the place to learn how to do transactions. So,
Rebecca Weisman, I just got my license in July. I taught special ed for 13 years and decided that Mason Public Schools is not super fun. So here I am. I'm actually at West USA, but I'm joining Shabani's team. And I can't until my 2 close escrow, so, alright.
well, welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tammy Kelly, and just got my license about 3 months ago. I'm actually with another firm right now, but I'm switching over. And before this, I worked in a prison for 10 years.
Okay.
Anita Morgan. I've been with you guys about 6 months. I'm on my 6th closing. I have 4 boys, 36 to 26. I think I have 6 grandkids, 7. I've got twins on the way. What else? I took Bold up in Tucson last month before. I did my Bold 100, of course. Learned a lot. I just hired my business coach about a month ago. So we're gonna rock and roll.
Great. Great. Okay. Well, I know you guys don't have your little name tag things, and I'm really bad with names, so I promise you I'm not going to remember them. So help me out.
Mine's the same as yours, except for the K.
I'm sorry, what?
Mine's the same as yours, except for the K.
Okay, thank you. All right, I can do it. Yeah. All right, that helps. Okay. All right, so I'm really bad with technology too, so. Okay.
You just have to pull up your internet screens around it.
Pull up my internet screens around it.
Yeah, so just, yeah.
Okay, all right. What happened to my PowerPoint? Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, so we're going to talk today about working with buyers. And there is so much about working with buyers. I can guarantee we are not going to be able to cover everything. This is like peeling an onion. You know, there's lots and lots of layers to it. So I want to try to cover is the stuff that we have, but you know, one of the things that I think is really important is for people to speak from their own experiences. So I'm going to talk a lot about what I did, particularly with buyers, to get my business launched. And you have my open house sign there. We're going to talk quite a bit about that. So we're going to talk about lead generation with buyers. We're going to talk about getting buyer appointments, what to do in a buyer appointment. We're going to talk about the buyer broker agreement and the agency agreement. We'll talk about the buyer consultation. And so, like I said, if there's anything that you guys have questions about, or, you know, I'm a squirrel myself, so be happy to bring the squirrels in because I'll just go right with you. So, okay. So how are you guys doing with your lead generation and your 410 and all that? How many people are comfortable with lead generation? It's just like it's just like falling off a log. It's easy. Okay, well then you need to teach the class if you're the one who's comfortable with lead generation, because what I first came here, I was uncomfortable with lead generation. As I got into working with the ALC, one of the things I heard from the ALC is I struggle with lead generation, and I think it's something that is universal. So since you, congratulations. And I think the discomfort with lead generation is just putting yourself out there. It's much harder in your head than it actually is. So when I am resisting picking up the phone or resisting having a conversation with somebody, I just have this little, I just get rid of my drunk monkey and I say, goodbye drunk monkey, I am just going to do it. Because once I do it, then you just start talking to people and it's fun. You know, and even on your worst day of going out and talking to people, I can guarantee there's going to be some positive experience that you're going to have, and you'll say, you know what, I'm really glad I talked to that person. You know, even if it didn't lead to anything with real estate, there's something in that conversation that you were able to give to them and something that they were able to give to you. So, how are you guys doing your lead generation? Where are you starting? Let me just hear from you guys what you're doing. Circle prospecting, okay? Door knocking. Open houses. Okay.
Calling.
Okay. Who's using their sphere? Your first deal is in your phone. Absolutely guarantee your first deal, it's right here. You know, because people do business with the people they like and trust. And there's going to be a lot of people who love you and trust you in your phone. So when when you're not sure who to call, start going through your contact list. Because I can guarantee you're going to find some people that you can pick up the phone and say, hey, just want to let you know, I've made a career change and I'm now in real estate. I'm working with Keller Williams Integrity First, just a great team of people. Just wanted to reach out and let you know I'm really excited about it. Who do you know that maybe thinking about buying a home or selling a home or investing in some real estate that I can call? I just love to take care of them for you. Simple, simple. Not easy, but simple, okay? So lead generation is all about contacts, adding people to your database, reaching out to them with notes, and looking at houses. So before we get started, I'd like to spend a few minutes. Can only take about, let's go till 9:30. So we're gonna take about 12 minutes here. And I want you guys to pull out your phones. I want you, and we can spread out, because I'm personally, I like to be kind of more quiet when I'm making calls. But I want you to call some people, you know. I want you to follow up with people that you've made contact with in an open house. I want you to talk to people in your sphere. If you don't have anybody to call, come talk to me and I'll help you find somebody to call. So let's do that. Let's get out and we'll come back here at 9:30. Okay? Yes?
Can I text people?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I can try to talk
Yeah,
to them, but
because you don't have a voice.
it'd be
One of the
awkward.
things that when I first took Bold, we said that, you know, texting was not a contact. And with texting being the new phone, for lack of a better word, a text that has a response to it, where there's actually, you know, a conversation, there's a two-way communication, actually does count as a contact in Bold. So yes, you can absolutely be texting people, you know, you don't have a voice. And sometimes there's people, they won't ever pick up their phone, you know, so you're going to communicate with them primarily by text. And it might be, hey, I've got some great news, give me a call, you know. So, you know, you're not introducing the whole thing with real estate in a text, but you're doing something to prompt them to call you. So, any other questions? Okay, get your phones, let's go.
I'll listen.
Yes, you can listen in. If you are not licensed, please do not make phone calls. That's a no-no. You need to actually have your license in hand. So yeah, I was kind of like you. It's like everybody made their calls, and I was like, you know, took some notes. You know, started thinking about who I would call. So, all right. Hey, good morning, Amber. It's Lori Tuter from Keller Williams Integrity First. We spoke a few weeks ago. You had mentioned that you and Marco were wanting to look at the possibility of getting into a home after the first of the year when your lease is up. And I just wanted to reach out to you and see when might be a good time for us to sit down and just start having a conversation about how we can get that going for you, how we can make that happen when your lease is up. So please give me a call. My number is 480-206-4680. And I hope you and your family have a great Thanksgiving. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey, Len, it's Lori. I'm doing great. How are you? Good. I am back in town and wanted to catch up with you because I still have your closing gift that I want to give to you. Why are you laughing? Well, it's not about necessary. It's about wanting to and saying thanks and just giving you something that I hope you will enjoy and use for a long time. So when are you going to be back up in the area? Are you coming up for Thanksgiving or are you going to stay around the lake?
Yeah, we're calling right now.
Oh man, that's going to be great. How relaxing is that? Yeah, good. Okay. Well, are you back up in town the week after Thanksgiving? I know you tend to come up about once a week, but I didn't know kind of what your schedule was like. You don't have to come back. Oh, that's awesome. A week from Wednesday. So the 28th? Okay. Okay. So why don't I touch base with you that morning and you can kind of let me know what your schedule is like and we can set a time that we can meet. Okay, great. So everything went well with you get your funds and everything after the closing?
This is Corey with Keller Williams.
Okay, good.
Just wanted to give you a call and
Well,
touch base.
again, it was just great to work with you and I'm really happy that you got your house sold and you can spend your time
Just want to touch base and see if you're still looking for that exact thing, or maybe if we've changed our.
I know that's what makes you happy.
Let me know so I can help you whenever you're ready. Phone number is 480-254-6822.
Thank you, you too, and I will talk to you next week.
480-254-6822.
All right, take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning, Patrick. It's Lori. Just wanted to follow up with you, let you know that the Binzer was sent over to the buyer. I'm expecting to be able to get the signature on that in the next day or two. And then I will let you know when the appraisal is. But just wanted to give you an update, let you know everything's going smoothly. And if you have any questions, give me a call. Take care. Bye.
Right.
Just text him. So you've been doing this for 6 months?
How are you doing, Anita?
Iris.
Thanks for, finding out what's going on with my,
Well, I was checking in.
yeah.
Checking in with ya.
I appreciate it. It's going.
How the, I don't know, what you were doing, the walkthrough of the Binzer or something?
The inspection, it went well, except they did find termites.
You found what?
Termites. Yeah, so that has to be treated, it's FHA. So the termites,
To do zoning room.
the celery,
Good quarter.
So the- yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, was there an extra chair?
Yeah,
No.
I mean,
Yeah.
Hey Jay, how's it going? Hey, just wanted to tell you, Patrick was super, super pleased with the bid. You guys, that was way less than I expected, so I don't, you're not giving me too much of a discount there. I enjoyed that. But today, I didn't want it today, Well, yeah, well, like I said, I think, they were really happy. So I just wanted to touch base on a couple things. Number one, I still need to get the bill from you from the work that you did over on the house down the street.
She's on the phone.
Oh,
I made breakfast.
What's that?
I made breakfast.
Oh, it smells beautiful, you did a great job.
okay, great. Okay, all right. Well, yeah, then just keep me posted on that. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you, we had talked a while back, I know you and your wife were kind of knocking around the idea of getting a home with some, maybe a little bit more room and not being in an HOA. And just wanted to see maybe if there was a time that we could sit down and just kind of have an initial conversation about what would be important to you with that new place.
Gee, Wednesday.
Once it's in your lunch and breakfast.
Okay, great. Yeah, just looking forward to meeting, like, we met briefly, I can't remember where we were. Costco, I was gonna say, was it I was gonna say, was that at Costco or was that at, Home Depot? It's like, I had this vision of all these shelves, it's like, where was I? Uh-huh,
because I only got one, I only
okay. Well, yeah, talk to her and you guys look at the schedules. I'm actually, I'm gonna be around until, we're gonna go out of town for a few days at Christmas for a wedding. But other than that, we're gonna be around and my schedule has gotten a lot more flexible. So, love to sit down and let's just talk and see what we can come up with. You are very welcome. I will talk to you soon. Okay, bye. Well, I see that the important stuff is here. Excellent. You never had breakfast when I was doing tonight.
No, it's the best part.
Is breakfast coming every?
Whoever's sponsoring it always brings them in.
Sometimes.
Are you kidding? That's awesome. Maybe I need to take Ignite again. Get some free food. Okay. Is everybody wrapped up with phone calls? Are we ready to get going again? Okay. There's a few things that I meant to bring today, but unfortunately we just painted the inside of our house and it kind of looks like a bomb went off. Nothing is in the right place. I can't find several different things of mine, so I was looking around this morning like, can't find it. It's like, well, I'm just going to tell them about it. So, one book that I really want to recommend to you guys is The 7 Levels of Communication. And this is it's a little bit of a corny book, but there's just so much good stuff in it. It's kind of told as a story, but it's about a realtor who's just kind of like burnout and like not doing well and financially in bad straits and just life is not good on a multitude of levels. And he gets into some coaching and he starts learning how to build a business based on referrals. And it's kind of my go-to when I'm kind of like I need to kind of get my head right, because I can spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes reading this book and just kind of like, okay, this is where my head needs to be. Because I'm a relationship person. I was a therapist for 12 years, for heaven's sakes, you know. I tell people I get to spend my day with people in houses. Yay! So a lot of my business is on referrals. So what it's really about as far as referrals is maintaining contact with people and maintaining relationships so that when they think real estate, they think me, just because I'm just kind of popping in and out as far as communication is concerned. My last phone call was actually to my handyman who just did a bid for one of my clients. I had spoken to him a few weeks ago and he had said that he and his wife were thinking about selling their house and buying another one with some, maybe some acreage or not an HOA. And we hadn't talked about it in a while, so I thought, okay, this is a perfect opportunity. I called him, I thanked him for the estimate, I told him how great my clients thought everything was, and I said, hey, we had talked about this, when would be a good time for us to sit down and get together? He says, well, I don't know, let me talk to my wife and check our schedules. So I don't have the appointment yet, but the next phone call, even if he doesn't call me back, I know I'll be able to get the appointment because he's now starting to think about this again. So anyway, so it's very low key, it's very casual, it's very, I don't want to be the in-your-face realtor. There are some people who are very good at that. Brandon Morgan is awesome, and the man is a machine when it comes to cold calling and circle prospecting and calling expireds. I mean, the guy just, he can get an appointment out of anybody. It's like magical. But that's not me. That's not what I want to do. So you have to find your lead generation in things that you enjoy, because lead generation is a big part of this business. And if you're not liking what you're doing, you're not going to do it. Pure and simple. So I think it's important to do bold. I think it's important to learn how to do different types of prospecting. I was in a group that was doing a lot of calling expireds and FSBOs and canceled listings, and I learned a lot. Didn't really like it. I think I got like 1 lead out of it, one deal out of it. But I learned a lot, but I also learned that it's like, you know what, this isn't where I want to spend my time. I want to spend my time doing other things, because if you're happy, then you're going to be more successful than if you're doing something that's just doesn't ring your bell. So, yes.
Question, so when you set up an appointment with somebody that you've worked with over the years, like one of your, handyman or something like that, they know you well and you know them, do you still do the same buyer presentation? Do you still go over all of that information with that person that you know well versus somebody, that is just...
No, I don't do it all, because a lot of what's in the buyer presentation is geared to people who really don't know you. It's about them getting to know who you are, what you do in real estate, what your value proposition is. So if there's, Jay's going to use me. I know he is. He considers me a friend. I have a hard time getting the guy to send me bills, because he's like, oh, well, it's okay. I'm like, no. This is your business. Send me a bill. So I don't want to be perceived as selling myself. I will talk about what I'm going to do for them, but I'm going to probably do that in a softer, kind of more low-key kind of way, because I still want to give them the information that I am going to be providing services to them that are going to be really helpful, but I'm not doing that in kind of a more formal way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you don't need to introduce yourself because they already know.
They already know me, yeah. And that's one thing that's great about the buyer presentation is it's editable, okay? I really like to go in and personalize my buyer presentation, and I'll personalize it different ways for different people, and it's easier to edit now than it used to be, so it's really great. You just go in, make the changes you want, download it, and you're done. So, yes, Jeff.
I read that 7 levels of communication twice. It's like you said, it's really good. It's simple, but there's a lot of content in it.
A lot of content.
And Don from Fidelity Title, when I first talked with him, recommended that too.
Yeah, it's one of Steve Chater's best, kind of go-to books. Oh, sorry, I didn't know this door locked. No, it's okay. I'm sorry. I didn't unlock this. I'm going off all kinds of squirrels today, so we'll just keep doing that. There's a group that I cannot recommend enough. Once you finish Ignite, and you've gotten 3 or 4 transactions under your belt, and you're ready for more, and you really want to grow you and your business, you really need to go to Focus on Success. It meets on Mondays from 12 to 1:30 over at the Hub. Steve Chater facilitates that group. He brings in speakers sometimes. Sometimes they'll be covering a book, but the best minds of the business are in that room. It's just amazing.
You said every Monday?
Every Monday, yeah. 12 to 1:30. When you're first getting started, I really encourage you to focus on Ignite, because you don't want to be trying to do 20 things at once. This is where you need to be honing your skills and learning your scripts and getting your lead generation going. This is best practices. This is the fundamentals, and you want to have a really solid foundation in building your business. So go through Ignite, go through it more than once, because like you said, there's things that you learn different times, and you're going to get different perspectives. And when you learn something and then you are starting to apply it, and then you learn it again, you're ready for that next level that you didn't even know existed. So go through Ignite. You really can't do it too much, because it will keep you ingrained in the fundamentals. But once you get through Ignite, you feel like, okay, I'm in a good place. I've got my lead generation going. I'm working on getting my schedule disciplined so that I'm getting done what I need to get done, and you're ready for more. You need to kind of focus on success. Steve Chater is an absolutely brilliant man. And I was fortunate enough to do some a group that was kind of similar to, it was called Focus on Success. It's a little bit different than what it is now. When I was first getting started, because he was working with new agents, I didn't know who the guy was. I thought, okay, this is just another one of their agents. I didn't know he was an owner of the brokerage. I didn't know he owned TCT Property Management. I didn't know he'd been in business for 40 years. I didn't know he'd written Hold, you know. And it's like, oh my gosh, we have a Keller Williams master faculty, and he's here. I mean, it's like, this is incredible. So again, that's my plug for Focus on Success. If you have any questions about that, let me know. So, okay, so we've talked about doing your lead generation. I really believe in scheduling that time in the morning. Block out your couple of hours, and it's like, okay, that's what I do. Protect that time. 7 levels of communication is going to talk about building a bunker. So read that. Buyers is the low-hanging fruit. This is where you get your first commission checks and start getting that money coming in, because we know that's really important. We're going to talk about how to find them, how to qualify them, and how to sign them. All right. This is where it's going to get interesting, folks. I did this before. How did I? Does anybody want to help me with this thing? I lost my All right, here we go. I'm so proud of me.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Pollack, and I'd like to share tips on how to find the motivated. What do I mean by find the motivated? Turning a warm lead into a closed client. The first tip is when you find someone, you want to ask for the business. Let's say you're at a party and your friend is pregnant. You can always say, hey, it looks like you need a bigger house. Or you're out and about and you see this big, beautiful diamond ring and not the full wedding ring. You can say, hey, it looks like you just got engaged. Congratulations. When are you buying your next house? And then I always ask, when are you ready to buy? When are you looking to move into your new house? What are those underlying tips of motivation that will tip you off to having a client that's ready to do business now versus a year from now? Tip number 2, ask for the appointment. Have a calendar or your smartphone ready to say, I have availability tomorrow at 2 or the next day at 4. Which one would work for you? Book the appointment when you meet someone who's ready to do business. Tip number 3, so now you've got the appointment, you want to pre-qualify that appointment by using scripts. Ask questions such as, have you met with the lender that I referred you to the other day? To make sure that they have their price range in mind when they're meeting with you to buy a home, and that you know they're able to sell a home, or that they're motivated by a desire to have another outcome, like maybe they're relocating or they're downsizing their home. There has to be some motivation level to continue forward with the appointment. Tip number 4, use embedded commands. When you get in front of the people face-to-face at your appointment, you want to be talking embedded command language, such as, when you're comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, then we'll sign the contract tonight. If you're using that language throughout your hour or half an hour appointment, they'll be more comfortable when they get to the end, and they'll sign that contract, and then you can move forward. The last step is you've signed them up, and now it's your goal to get a referral. When you're in conversation with them on the phone, in the car, at the closing, use questions. Who else do you know that's looking to buy a home, sell a house, or invest in real estate that I can call today? If you keep saying this throughout the process, you'll find yourself turning more of your current clients into referral business that will generate lots of easy sales for you. So go out there and find the motivated and have a great day.
Ahas? Any thoughts? Is anybody uncomfortable with the whole thing of asking a question and then connecting it to real estate? And her questions were really, really direct, and I totally admit that. But you need to have some questions about, so that when you do have, some people do mention something that has to do with real estate, even kind of casually, that you have a response that brings it in kind of more to a direct conversation. Because bottom line is it's the organic conversations that we need to be having to have people that we already know want to do business with us. This is not going to be pretty, people. This is just not going to be pretty. Disk is full. Oh, here it is. Oh, there we go. Okay, I want to talk to you really quickly about local statistics. And God bless America, I don't have to exit out of this thing again. This is just not good. Is everybody familiar with the MLS? Okay, all right. So when you're wanting to know kind of what's going on, just kind of at a glance, you want to go to this Market Summary tab. And there you're going to be able to get just some really quick glances on what's going on with listings, prices, absorption rate. Does anybody know what absorption rate is? That means that if all of the homes, if we didn't have any more listings on the market, with the demand of buyers that we have, how long would it take for those buyers to come and buy all those houses? Okay, it's called an absorption rate. And obviously the lower the absorption rate, the more of a seller's market it is. Okay, and we've had 2.6 to 2.2 months of inventory, which is not a lot of inventory, which is why we've been in the seller's market for so long, or one of the reasons. Days on market, and then it'll get into the specifics of what things have sold, what price ranges, and it'll give you year-to-date and monthly statistics on all of that. So if you've got people who are saying, okay, well, what's going on with the market, and you just want a glance to be able to get a little bit of information, this is a great place to do it. Okay. Because we're having so much issues, or excuse me, I'm having so much issues with technology here, I'm going to go a little bit away from the PowerPoint for a moment, and I want to talk a little bit about open houses, because I can kind of do that all at once, and then I can get back to the PowerPoint. So I'm going to go off on another scroll here. I did a lot of my business initially off of open houses. And the reason I like open houses is because it's a great way to door knock. It's a great way to meet people. It's very casual and comfortable. It's very non-threatening. And you're getting leads that are pretty, at least warm, you know, at least they want to look at a house, or they wouldn't walk through the door, even if they're just somebody in the neighborhood who's just curious about what's going on. So the first thing I do when I'm looking to do an open house is, if it's my listing, obviously that's easy, I know specifically about the house, but if you don't have any listings, what I encourage you to do is to reach out through the office. You can do it on Facebook, you can go through the office listings on the MLS, see who has listings that are in the areas that you're interested in. Kind of the hot buttons places to get good open houses is probably in the 200 to 350 range, okay? Because that's a price range that a lot of people can afford. Another good place to get open houses is in the 55 plus communities, because 55 plus people, they're already there. We're getting into winter season, the snowbirds are coming in, and these are folks that may be renting this year, but maybe they want to buy a home because they want to have a home to live in next year. Okay, so the 55 plus communities are also a great way to get open houses, and a lot of times those homes are vacant. because maybe the sellers had an illness and they're not coming down anymore. So that house, it's really easy to hold that house open. It's also great for in 55 plus communities because there's no such thing as a weekend for retired people. So you can do an open house on a Wednesday and get just as much traffic as you will on a Saturday. For non-55 plus communities, I like to do my houses on Saturdays and Sundays, usually between like 10 and 2 or 11 and 3, okay? And once I kind of identify that house, I'm sorry I can't show this to you because I have my assistant do it and I can't remember how to do it, but it's super easy. I'll have her make up an open house flyer. So if you need help with that, talk to the office and they'll point you in the right direction, but I can't remember, so I'm really sorry. But just want to make up a really simple flyer. Even if it's not your listing, you can get it branded to you. So it'll have the information on the house, it'll have your contact information at the bottom, just a really nice simple flyer. And then I go out and door knock, okay? Door knocking is a blast. It is so much fun because it's really, again, low key. And what I do is I take this little flyer and I'll take it, just have it in my hand. I'll usually carry a little notebook I can put them in, and I'll go up to the door and here's my script. When it comes to the door, it says, "Hi, my name is Lori. I'm with Keller Williams Realty. We're having an open house on Saturday, and I'm just out inviting the neighbors," and hand them a flyer. Okay? Now, chances of them growling at you for inviting them to an open house is really low, okay? Because you're not asking them for anything. You're inviting them to an open house, okay? So sometimes they'll just, they'll be really abrupt and, they obviously don't want to talk to you and they just take the flyer and close the door. They say they don't want the flyer, fine. But most of the time, you're going to get at least a somewhat warm reception. So if you have an opportunity, say you can ask a question. Hey, how long have you lived here? What do you like best about the neighborhood? Do you have kids? If you can tell that they have little kids. Hey, where do your kids go to school? I'm just trying to get to know the neighborhood. And again, sometimes people will be open to answering a question. Sometimes they won't. But again, you're just planting those little seeds to hopefully have a conversation. If they do answer and you can get a conversation going. I mean, I've talked with people door knocking where I've stood on their front porch for 30 minutes, okay? And people say, well, I've got 100 flyers to pass out. It's like, okay, yeah, but I now have somebody who wants to have a conversation with me, and that conversation comes before those 100 flyers, So, and then I also carry a notepad with me so that I can, if I do have a conversation with them, but I'm not able to maybe get their telephone number and email. A lot of times people don't want to pass out that for somebody that they've talked to, just for a few minutes. At least I know their address, and I can look them up on the tax records, and I can send them a thank you note. Say, hey, it was great meeting you today. Hope we can talk again. And then I've got their address that I can put to my database, so that when I'm sending out stuff in the mail, they're gonna hear from me. Also, I know to maybe go next time I'm in the area to go back and specifically door knock on them. Now I know their name, even if they didn't tell me because I looked it up on the tax records, and I can again have another conversation with them. So I have gotten listings from knocking on doors. It sounds crazy that somebody would hire you because you knocked on their door, but I've absolutely gotten listings from that. I'm going to actually show you how much business I got off of one open house. It's going to blow your mind because it kind of blew mine when I looked at it. So again, door knock, yes.
A quick question. You
Yeah.
said in your script, I'm holding an open house Saturday. I wanted to invite you to. When are you knocking on the door?
I typically will door knock. If I'm doing a Saturday open house, I'll do it on Thursday or Friday. Okay, so really close. Yes.
What about the signs that say no soliciting even flyers?
Okay, if it says no soliciting, and everybody has this different because I'm actually not soliciting anything. It says right on, it says right on the flyer. If you're represented by a realtor, disregard. This is my personal policy. Okay, this is just the way I do it. If it says no soliciting, I will leave the flyer. If it says no flyers, I'm not going to leave anything. Okay, I just don't want it. It's not worth making people mad. That's just my Brandon Morgan would cover their house in flyers if he could, but that's his style, not mine. So if it says no soliciting, I will not knock on the door or ring the doorbell, but I will leave the flyer. A lot of times people have those security doors, so that there's a door frame and then behind it's a screen. And so what I will do is I will take the flyer and slide it in so that the flyer is facing out. So you can literally just see the entire flyer. If there's not a way to put it in a security door, I'll fold it in half. And then most of the time, doors are not so sealed so much that you can actually slide it in between the door and the door frame. And I slide it in enough that it actually starts to stick out the other side, so that when they're inside the house, they actually see the piece of paper. And again, I fold it print side out so that there's color, okay, so it catches people's eye. If that doesn't work, then a lot of times I'll put it in the door handle. So just kind of find what's going to fit best. But usually between the security door and sliding it in, again, fold it in half, print side out, usually you can leave your flyer that way. Okay, so again, as many as you can. This is the best time to start door knocking. Get in the habit of it, and because the weather's going to get hot again, so start doing it now because it's super nice outside. If you're going to door knock in the summertime, partner with somebody from title or a lender, somebody who will help you, and I usually start putting flyers on doors at 8:45 to 9. I'll just put flyers on doors. 9 o'clock, I'll start knocking, and then usually by 10:15, it's like you're a human French fry, you're done. But if you kind of park your car and then do like a little loop with lots of water, you'll survive. So anyway, you can door knock in July. Been there, done that. Okay, so obviously you want to put that on. If it's not your listing, have the agent put it on Zillow, have them put it on Facebook, get as much internet coverage as possible, and obviously have them put it on the MLS because it'll show up on the MLS as an open house. And then what you want to do is to cover the area in signs, okay? This is my open house sign, and I chose the turquoise swoosh just because it was kind of a unique color, and I wanted it to be something that would kind of stand out. The Grace Enterprises, actually I have not used that since I got into business. I had started that, it was actually kind of named after a friend of mine who passed away, and that was kind of a way of honoring her. But Grace Enterprises doesn't really tell people about real estate, so it's on my signs, but it doesn't refer to anything, and nobody pays attention to it. And I don't use it anywhere else. So I wouldn't create a company name because you are your company, okay? Your name is what's most important. So you want your name to be prominent on your signs. Now, you don't have to do a customized sign. I chose to because I knew I was going to do a lot of open houses, and I wanted something that was going to be unique and something that people would recognize and would be different. I've actually had people tell me that they saw my listing down the street or whatever. Oh yeah, I saw your listing, because they remembered my sign. It wasn't my listing. But they remembered my sign. They thought that was the house, and they're like, oh yeah, that was great. That was a great house. I have no idea what they're talking about. Not a clue. But I'm really glad that they recognized my sign. Okay, so I got my signs from Signorama. They have a design person. They'll sit down with you. I would keep your design simple. I would keep it colorful. I would keep it something that you like, but basically just something that kind of reflects you. If you don't know what to do and you're like, I'm not like a super creative person, I just want to do a regular Keller Williams sign, there's lots of templates for that, and you can do that as well. I just chose to do something that was kind of unique. Okay, so you're welcome. Yes?
How many do you think it's good to start off with if you are going to do a lot of open houses? And do you do a few big ones and then some of the littler ones that you just push in, or did you do all these bigger ones?
Okay, I did 10 open house signs, okay, and they're all the same, okay. I like these frames because they're pretty lightweight, and you can just lay them down in your trunk, or I have a small SUV, I just lay them in the back. But they're lightweight. They're pretty sturdy. You're gonna need maybe like some sandbags that you can put down, because they are lightweight and you wanna make sure that they don't get knocked over in the wind. But I literally just take some bags and put some sand sand's better than rocks, and then it'll hold the signs down. You'll hear a lot of people talk about balloons. I did balloons for a while, and then I got the flags. And the reason is balloons are a hassle. They do pop. They are expensive. It's usually about $10 to do a big thing of balloons that you can put on all of your signs. And I got a box of 10 flags, I think for $50, which is ridiculously expensive when you think about it. It's a stick held by, with a piece of plastic stapled to it. But I'm not the creative person, and if it took me, I had to go and buy the plastic and cut it and then staple it. I'd like kill myself. So to me, it was like, okay, I'll spend the $50 and then I'll just use them over and over again. Okay. So the flags, a lot of people don't have them. I think it's a nice touch. I think that it grabs attention. It's going to make your sign stand out because most people just plop their signs out. Okay. So if you need 3 or 4 signs to direct people to your house, use 10, use 8, because you want to. The more they see your name, the better. Okay. Drive through the neighborhood. See which is kind of the best way to get there from the main road. But a lot of times in a subdivision, there's going to be 2 entrances to the subdivision. So you want to have signs from both entrances, okay? So you're going to use those 10 signs pretty consistently. I always like to put one in front of the house, okay? So that there's all the directional signs. But I also want to put one in front of the house so that people see, here's the open house. So it's got my open house sign and it's got my for sale sign, okay? So that's what I do with my signs. Questions? Yes.
Do you try to keep your signs off of sidewalks, and if you do you ask permission if you're sticking in somebody's yard, like in a subdivision, or?
What I try to do is usually put them in the green space between the road and the sidewalk. So you definitely don't want to put them on the sidewalk. That is actually public walking space. You don't want to put them on a sidewalk. If it's in somebody's yard, I'll try to ask permission, but honestly, most of the time, people aren't home, and what I'll do is, if it's going to be in their yard, it's going to be right on the edge, and I've never had a problem, I know we've got the fans going. Is there a way that we can crank those up?
That slide switch all the way.
Yeah, you just go up, just do it up.
Yep.
Okay, more here.
There's a control right there too. I'm sorry.
Ouch.
Okay, it's locked, so that's okay. All right. Okay, so then when you have your open house, you want to get there a little bit early. A lot of times people will talk about having snacks and stuff. I typically will do water and maybe some little cookies or something, but the person who ends up usually eating them is me. Bring a little cooler with your water in it, but bring a power bar, something for you to eat, because I can guarantee, even if you've only got it open for 3 hours, you're going to be up, you're going to be around, you're going to get hungry, okay? And there's nothing worse than waiting and going, I'm really hungry, and this thing is going, when am I going to be able to get out of here so I get some food? So be sure and bring something for you to eat, okay? But usually people just want water. So I just bring a little cooler with some water. If it's my listing and the house is vacant, what I'll do is I'll put some water in the fridge, and then I'll just put a little note on the refrigerator that says, please help yourself to some water, thank you, and just stick it on the fridge, okay? And then that would be people, when they come in to look at the house, they can grab a water if they want to. So I think that's a nice touch. So as far as getting people's information, I use a program called Open Home Pro. I paid for the higher version, if you will. I think it cost me like $25, and it's not per year. It's like once you have it, you have it. Because what it does is it sends, when people put their email into the system, it sends them an email with information on the listing. So it's really cool. So
So you always use that for sign-in, versus like a paper?
I prefer it just because it electronically saves everything, and also it'll send them an email. Okay, it has to be connected. My iPad, I have to use my phone to connect to the internet. So I'll connect to the internet with my phone to get it up and running, and then I'll turn off the hotspot, and then when I get home, I'll turn on the hotspot, and it'll do the emails and stuff, because sometimes it's sucking on my battery. But yeah, bring chargers with you so that you can charge your phone, so you can charge your iPad. But just so I'm not, just draining data like crazy. But this is what the listing will look like. So it's very professional. You take a picture of the house, and it has the information on the house, and then it says begin open house. And so this is what you have on the screen. Again, picture of the house, touch to sign in, and they just sign in from there. Now, I did this morning with this listing, and I wanted to show you what it did. So I logged myself in. I answered the questions. It's like 5 questions. Do you have an agent? Have you been approved for a loan? Super simple stuff. Sometimes people will not want to fill everything out. I don't care. Whatever they want to fill out is fine. But this is what I got when I sent this to myself this morning. Hi, Lori Tuter. Thank you for visiting 5914 East Billings. It was great meeting you. So they get a thank you email, has the information on the house. It's come from my email, and then it gave me, when I looked at it, it then sent me an email saying that I had opened the email that I had sent to myself. So when they open the email, you get a notification from Open Home Pro. Okay, so it's just a really nice program. It's simple, it's professional. You can certainly, if you don't want to do this, you can certainly use a piece of paper. Again, what I would do is keep it really simple with place for their name, phone number, email address, and maybe a place that's like, are you thinking about buying or selling a home in the next, 3 to 6 months, or, just, again, super, super simple. I also, yes, Jeff. What I do is I have a little sign that I stick, that's laminated, that I stick on the door that says, all guests will be required to sign in. Thank you, Keller Williams Realty. And I've seen people look at that and turn around and walk away. And I'm like, cool. Because for security, obviously you do want people to sign in. Okay, so if somebody comes in and they refuse, I'm not going to throw them out, but I am going to request that they sign in. Okay. A lot of people talk about security during open houses. It's always best to do them in pairs, especially if it's a large home, to make sure that, if there's multiple guests coming in, you can have somebody who's kind of covering the upstairs, somebody who's kind of covering the downstairs. So you definitely you want to be safe. I carry a pepper spray in my back pocket. I usually wear a pair of slacks that has a pocket. And I got this at Sportsman's Warehouse, but it's in a little pink tube. It looks like makeup, okay? So nobody knows what it is, okay? And I just slide it in my pocket, and I just make sure that it's kind of facing the right direction so that I could reach it in, pop off the top with my finger, and literally it's like ready to go, okay? So I just keep that in my pocket when I do open houses. It's a good thing to do, but like I said, you can get them at Sportsman's Warehouse. I think it was like $10, okay? When you go into a house, if the house is vacant, you want to when you open that door, the first thing you want to do is say, hello, realtor, announce yourself. Eva Madrigal came into a house that was vacant one time, and she found squatters. So she walked in, and there were people living there. And so she literally just kind of got between her and her clients and sent her clients, out the door and backed out. Off, she, obviously called the police. So I have never been in a situation where I felt threatened, I felt uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean that it won't happen. So you always want to have easy egress from the house. You want to have your front door unlocked, your back door unlocked. If you're wanting people to actually let them in, you can lock the front door but leave the back door open. And you always want to make sure that you kind of know where people are. If you have a kind of an air of confidence about you, and you're looking people straight in the eye, and you look like you know what you're doing, the chances that somebody's going to try to bug you, bother you, or be inappropriate is much less, because it's really about what message are you sending, okay? But nothing's 100%, so you want to do things to make sure that you stay safe. If you're with somebody, whether you're showing them homes, whether you're doing an open house, and you're going upstairs, have them go first. You don't want to have someone behind you. Okay. Let people know where you are. You can always call the office, and I believe it's called Ask for the Orange Folder. And that's our code here that something's going on. You call the office and say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm going to be out with these clients, or I'm going to be doing this open house. And you can call the office. The other thing that you always want to do, have your friends and family know where you are. Have them know when they're, when you're supposed to be done. And then say, okay, I'm going to call in every hour and just check in, and so, they know to check, so I think there's always things that you can do to be safe, but really preparation and thinking about what you would do in a situation where you were uncomfortable. And bottom line, if you're uncomfortable, get out of the house. Just get out into the front yard. Letting the neighbors know that you're doing an open house is great, because neighbors tend to be nosy. But get yourself into the front yard. Get yourself out of the house if you're in a situation where you feel uncomfortable. Yes?
Can I just add to that?
Yes, please.
What I do is I have a girlfriend who's on my team as well, and we share our location with each other. So if anybody has the iPhone specifically, they have an app on there, Find a Friend. So you can share your location for a certain amount of time, which is great. And just to report on that, yesterday my husband forgot his phone at work. So he came home, and on my phone, he looked at his phone, and he was able to go back to work, and it narrowed it down to like the corner of the building that it was in at the airport. So it's really specific, which is great.
Yeah, I am not a good technology person, so thank you for, but I did, and then the other thing is to have your phone on your person. Okay, just keep your phone. Again, I think, we're always taught to kind of dress up, but I'm not dressed up enough where I don't have pockets. Sorry, not happening. I want to make sure that I have my car key, my phone, and my pepper spray, again, in my pockets, because again, if there's ever a situation where you feel uncomfortable, those are the things that you're going to need the most. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, safety. So you want to collect their information. Open houses is a great place to just have conversations, to be meeting people. Some people are going to come in and they're going to be more defensive, but you just really want to be just talking about, hey, thanks for coming, do you live in the neighborhood, and just find out what's bringing them in today. Hey, what brought you into the open house today? Thank you so much for coming. And again, depending on the person, you want to mirror and match. You want to look at, okay, what's their interest level? What's their energy level? What kind of, are they communicating to you through their tone of voice and their body language? And you want to match that, okay? If they're low intensity, you want to be low intensity. If they're a higher intensity and kind of more excited, you want to match that. And I'd say you want to be a half a step ahead of them, okay? So if they're at an intensity of a 2, I want to be like a 2.5, okay? Maybe a 3, so that I have a little bit more energy than they do, but not a lot. So if their energy level, if their interest level goes up, I can kind of, again, just watch. What is it that they're doing? They may go down, they may kind of like talk for a while, and then they, you can tell they want to be left alone. Leave them alone, what you want to do is you want to make that contact. You want them to like you. You want them to feel comfortable with you. You want to get their contact information, so hopefully you can follow up with them and get that appointment with them. Getting appointments is not a one-time thing, okay? You're going to get appointments over having several conversations with people, okay? I've had clients where I met them at an open house and I would just talk to them periodically for a period of months, and then I sell them a house a year later, okay? That's great, get the appointment when you can get the appointment, and depending on people's interest level, what's going on in their lives, what you want to do is you want to become that person that they think of when it's time to buy that house, because you've been in contact with them over that time. So questions to ask them would be, when are you thinking about buying or selling a home? Do you live in the neighborhood? When were you wanting to get into home? Do you have a realtor? Okay, a lot of people will say, I have a realtor. Oh, great. Who is that? If they can't answer their name, then they probably don't really have a realtor. And so if they do have a realtor, they are working with somebody. Obviously, you need to respect that relationship. Okay. That does not mean that you can't give them their card and say, hey, listen, in working with realtors, working with anybody, sometimes people are not a match. And if you find yourself in a situation where things are not working the way you want, please give me a call. I'd be glad to talk to you. I have one of my favorite stories of lead generation is what I call the people that I picked up off the street. And this is an absolutely 100% true story. So I had a client who was wanting to buy a townhome, and we were really having difficulty finding property. And I was out previewing homes, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So I'm out previewing homes, and I come out of this townhome, and this woman's standing there, and she's like, are you looking at houses? I said, yeah, I'm a realtor. I'm previewing for a client of mine. Did you have a question? She goes, well, I was wondering if I could see this house. And I said, well, do you have a realtor? And she said yes. And we talked for a little bit, and she had other couple questions. And I said, have you signed a buyer-broker agreement with your realtor? Because she wanted to get into this. She really wanted to see this townhome. And she said no. I said, okay, I want you to understand something. I'm not trying to take you away from your realtor. You have not signed a buyer-broker agreement. That's why I can let you in and show you this house. If you had signed a buyer-broker, I could not do that, okay? If you had a written agreement. But because you don't have a written agreement, I'd be, glad to show it to you. So she stepped in, she looked at it. She's like, oh, this is really nice. And I'm like, yeah. I said, this is okay. I said, but there's a townhome complex down the street, a couple miles, that is better. I'm actually going to be looking over there next. And she's like, oh, okay. And I said, well, what's going on with your realtor? And she's like, well, she gave us a list of addresses. I'm like, are you kidding me? And I didn't say anything, but I'm like, so literally this woman had a list of addresses, and she was going around to different complexes looking, and that's how she was seeing these houses. I'm like, oh, good grief. I'm like, so I she thanked me and she left, and I'm back at I go back to my car, and I'm kind of looking at where I'm going next, and I can see her walking toward me, and her husband's with her. So I got out of the car and I said hi, and she introduced her husband, and she said, you mentioned you were going over to that other complex. Can we follow you? I said, sure. So they follow me over there, and again, I'm keeping a pretty close eye on them because I just met them, but I felt like, okay, if I position myself here, this will be okay. I kind of let my intuitions go as like, is this okay or not? And so I was careful. I let them go in first. I always kept an eye on them. So we looked at a couple, and we're chatting and everything, and then Jack says, our realtor just gave us a list of properties, and you're actually out previewing for your client. Can we work with you? Sure. So I helped them find a townhome for their son who's going to go to ASU, And I've just stayed in touch with them over the years. Now, this was my first year in business, so this was 4 years ago. And I've just stayed in touch with them. They have now since come back to Arizona. They're looking for a home for themselves, probably in the $350 to $450 range, okay? So the clients that I literally met because I was out previewing property, I have sold them one house. I'm probably going to do another. They had given me a referral. The referral didn't work out, but they still referred me, and if they're going to be spending time here 6 months out of the year, I know I'm going to get more referrals from them, because we get along, we like each other. So you never know where that deal's going to come from. So if you have the mindset of being professional and being helpful, being somebody, and just having a good time with people, you never know. You might actually pick them up off the street. So back to previewing property. So you're in your open house, and one of the things you want to have is your value proposition. What makes you special? And one of the things that I always talk to people about is my previewing services and my consultation services. And I said, if you're interested in getting some more information about homes, what I'd really like to do is sit down and let's have a conversation, get to know each other. I want to get to know more about you and what's most important to you. So that way I can zero in on the homes that are going to be the best fit. I said, and then after that, what I do is you're not going to go out and look at 20 homes. That's not the best use of your time. You have kids and jobs and whatever else they've told me about. I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a list of homes via email. We're going to talk about those back and forth, and then I'm going to go and pick out homes that, again, meet your criteria. I'm going to go out and I'm going to go look and see what are the best 4 or 5 homes based on the things that you tell me are the most important, because your time is valuable and you don't want to be running around in circles. And when people find out that you do that, they're like, really? So talk about how you go out and you know the market and you look at properties to make sure that they're getting, that you're actually going and showing them the homes that they're going to like the best, okay? I have a buyer right now that I'm working with that can't stand the white, gray kitchens and stuff. That's just not his thing. Well, that makes me know I'm not going to take him and show him a house that has just been remodeled in the white and gray template, the color palette, because he didn't like it, So I know what's most important to him. We've talked, and so that way I can go and preview the houses. So instead of going and looking at 20 houses, we're going to look at 5 because I've weeded out the other 15. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about that and say, do you think that's something that would be helpful for you? As I'm nodding my head, of course it's helpful. And then also what you want to do is you want to talk about your team of people. And I passed out some papers. One of them it says Lori's Real Estate Peeps. This is my personal go-to list for people that I work with in my business for services that I need. And can I see somebody's just because I don't know where to stuff mine? Thank you. Okay. So the first thing I have is title. I'm hoping that Debbie Marquez from Title Lines can come in and say hello. What I like about Title Lines, number 1, they're right in this building. And number 2, their whole focus of kind of their business model of how they help you is really very much in lines with the 7 levels of communication and referrals. They want to make you look really, really good, and they have systems in place to stay in touch with your clients to help you get those referrals, okay? And they provide excellent services. So I always encourage new agents, you need to go and talk to various lenders, various title people, transaction coordinators. You need to interview them, and you don't want to just work with the first person you meet, but find somebody that you feel comfortable with, that you like, that you feel like you're going to be able to work well together, because the way they do business is a direct reflection on you. And if you've got somebody who's not quite living up to the task, then that's going to not work well for the growth of your business. and also be willing to make changes. I had a lender that I had worked with my first year, and as I was going into my second year, I was really kind of putting my foot on the gas. I was really working to grow my business. He was in a situation where he had young children and his wife had just taken a very demanding job, and so he was actually taking his foot off the gas. And so it became really frustrating because I felt like I was always chasing him for information because I was just moving at a faster pace than he was, you know? And I ended up stopping working with him just because we were a fit at the beginning, but due to the changes, we were no longer a fit, okay? So don't be afraid to be like, you know, this is somebody I've worked with for several years and I've got a real loyalty to them, but something has changed. Maybe the leadership of their company, maybe their personal way of doing things, maybe they go from one company to another and you're not happy with the services of a new company, whatever reason, just think about it. You know, people can hire and fire realtors, and you can hire and fire title and home inspectors and things like that, because again, this is your business. So be having those conversations, meet with the people that you're gonna be seeing, that are gonna be bringing in breakfast, that have offices here, because they're gonna be really good people. And then you pick from those. You pick who's gonna do the best job. And try out their services, you know? Do title here, do title here. Who's gonna take the best care of your clients? Same with lenders. Lenders are absolutely key. And the reason I use Mark Kerbel from Wallach and Volk is, number one, his communication is stellar. Okay, he's got a team. I'm always getting updates on what's going on. I never have to call and say what's going on. They, again, really, it's a business model of referrals. And then the other thing is that Mark is an absolute pit bull when it comes to getting stuff done. And as you know, there's always those little things that come up at the end that the underwriter is unhappy about, or something has gone sideways. And he is just like, if there's an issue, I mean, he attacks it with all of his Markness. And so he's very aggressive with getting things done and making sure that things close on time. So I think he's great. He's great with clients, yes.
Well, and since I'm starting now to work with all these people, I've noticed a big difference. Some of these do have separate marketing people that will whip out amazing things for you, flyers, like whatever you need. If you don't want to be taking all that time, or you're in bold and you are trying to make 100 contacts a week, there's a big difference. Some will say just get on Facebook and communicate that way, but they don't really have all the marketing people. And then some have dedicated marketing people that you tell them what you need and how many, and they will create it for you. You know, looking to get your business, but it's a big difference, and makes a big difference as far as time and stuff for us as well.
Exactly. And there is a temptation to go with a company that has like the best marketing stuff, but that might not also be the best client service. So again, just be thinking about that. Okay. And then the other thing, and I can't believe I didn't type this on here, and it's been several classes and I keep forgetting to add Jana, my transaction coordinator. You guys are required to use a transaction coordinator during your first 3 transactions. I think the dumbest thing you can possibly do is to fire your transaction coordinator after your first 3 transactions. It's crazy, because the amount of time and mental energy it takes to track a transaction from start to finish, make sure everything is in compliance, make sure that Jim is a happy guy, because you don't want Jim unhappy. Not that he's mean about it, but you just don't want him unhappy. And make sure, you know, the things are getting followed up and the things are getting done on time. It's a lot. And that's not how my brain thinks anyway. But even if you're like a super detailed person and you love the minutia, it's gonna get really easy for you to get sucked into making sure all those details are taken care of. when you really need to be spending your time lead generating and showing homes and writing contracts, because you don't get paid for following the transaction from start to finish, okay? You get paid for going out and getting business and closing transactions. And so you wanna have your time and your focus be on what's gonna get you paid, okay? Because that's what takes care of your family. So a transaction coordinator is really your first leverage. It's your first step. Even if you don't ever build a team, you have a team when you have a transaction coordinator, because you've got somebody who is working for you, okay, who is making sure that things are taken care of and that your client gets to closing and everything's the way it's supposed to be, and you're paying them a flat fee. I think Janet charges $335 a file, okay? I'm sorry, but that is money well spent. So if you're either there's two types of people. There's the detail people and the non-detail people. The non-detail people like me, they need a transaction coordinator so that the world doesn't explode, okay? Because that is what would happen to my files. Then there's the detail people who love all the details, and they're gonna do it because it's super fun for them, and they're not spending their time where it needs to be. So that means everybody needs a transaction coordinator. So, again, I think Sandra and Jana I think those are the only two we have right now. But check with the office to see if there's any other people that are doing it right now. But again, get yourself a transaction coordinator and keep them. They will save your life, I guarantee it. And then I included some of the people that I have used for AC, flooring, glass. Chris Casey is my home inspector. He is awesome. He is super friendly. He is detailed. He's great with buyers. He doesn't scare them, but he's thorough and he lets them know what they need to know. But people feel very comfortable with Chris, and I've been using him for years. He's fantastic. If you have any questions about people, I'm gonna pass out some of my business cards, so you guys can reach me if you have any questions. But if you're running into a situation where you need a referral for something like that, please give me a call. I'd be glad to point you in the right direction to help you, get somebody who can come out and get you and your clients taken care of. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So they can just scan it. Yeah. Get the app.
I got what she was like instructions. Oh. That's a good idea.
It's a good, well, and what's even better now is that when I had those printed, because I'm using the same template I did 5 years ago, you can now just email it and text. You can text the app, and you couldn't do that when the app first came out. So now you can do that. So, okay. So your next step with your open houses is follow up. Okay, follow up is absolutely key. Getting a contact is hard work. Keeping a contact is hard work, but it is harder to go and find new contacts than it is to take the contacts you have and work with them, develop them, and keep those relationships going over time. Okay, so that's where your 8x8, your 33 touch comes in. You want to be contacting them by phone, by text, by regular mail, by email. You want to be in front of them a lot in a lot of different ways so that they aren't feeling like you're there because they forgot that you got an email when they get your card in the mail, or they forgot that you sent them an email when you get a phone call, because you're just there. You're just there. You're helpful, you're friendly, you're present. If they are thinking about buying a home but they're not ready right now, number one, I always ask them, so what's most important to you about waiting till next year or in 6 months? Well, it might be, okay, my lease is expiring then. Well, yeah, they don't want to buy a house and then have to pay on their rent for several months. So it makes sense to wait a little bit. I'll always talk about what you want to do is you want to say, 3-6 months goes by really quickly, especially when you're looking at buying a home. So now is really the time to start that process to make sure that you've got everything in place so that you're ready to go, and then ask for that appointment. Okay? There's always a reason to get the appointment, even if you know they're not pre-qualified for a loan. even if they're not in a position where they can qualify for a loan. You might know that they've got, they've had a bankruptcy last year and they need to wait until that bankruptcy is off for 2 years. I still want to sit down and have a meeting with them, because that appointment, even though they're not going to be signing the buyer broker right then, is my opportunity to get to know them and to build that relationship and to be finding out what's most important to them and getting them the help that they need in order to be able to be ready to buy a home. Because a lot of times people don't know. One of the things that Mark does, and this is free of cost, is that he will put them into a credit repair program. Okay, doesn't cost them anything, doesn't cost you anything, but he will get them into a program that will tell them what do they need to do, and very systematically to get their credit score to the place where they're able to qualify for a home. Okay, so that's another reason why I like Mark. So meet them where they are, I guess, is probably my biggest advice, is meet them where they are, and then walk with them through their process. Okay, they set the pace, but you walk with them. Okay, if you do that and they don't feel like that you're pushing them, but you're there and you're for them and you're being helpful and you're providing them the information that they need. One of the things that is a great motivator for somebody to buy a house is to get them a search set up on the MLS. Okay, say, hey, I know you're not looking for 6 months, but I want to be able to show you what's on the market and just get you familiar with it. Would you like to be getting some current information about listings in that area? Of course they do. They're looking on Zillow, they're working on Realtor.com, which doesn't have up-to-date information, and that's another thing that's your value proposition. These websites are great for just getting started, but they're not great for getting really detailed, accurate information. Would you like me to be able to provide that for you? Of course they do. Okay. I've had people send me, and I tell them this, I've had people send me Zillow listings that are 5 years old. Okay. More than once. I mean, multiple times. Oh, there's a foreclosure. Yeah, right. Yeah, there was a foreclosure 6 years ago, and the house isn't even on the market, but it still shows as an active listing foreclosure on Zillow. Swear to God. Okay, so when you ask them, okay, where are you getting information about houses? They're going to probably say Zillow or Realtor.com. Great. That's a great place to get started. However, it's not always the most accurate. It's not always up to date. Would you like me to be able to provide that information to you? It'll just come straight to your email. Also, we have a portal, and you can just log in whenever you want, and you can see what listings are available in your area. And if you want me to make any changes to that search criteria, let me know. I'll be glad to take care of that for you. So again, providing them information. Questions? I feel like we've kind of gone off on 40 different tangents here. Yes.
Okay, so I hear some realtors, they say that they're really good at getting their buyers into the home. So if there's a transaction that they're selling the home and buying the home, then they could get them in there the same day without having to overlap and stay in a hotel. What is your advice on that? How can we do that for our clients?
Well, there's saying it and there's doing it. And you're going to tell realtors that say, I can do simultaneous transactions, super easily. The reality is with a simultaneous transaction, we actually don't have a lot of control over that, because it has a lot to do with the lenders. Okay. So what I do is I'm going to be very direct and say, this is a process that's complicated, and I'm going to be working very closely with your lender and the buyer's lender and the sellers, all the players here, to keep that communication going, because communication is the key. But the other thing that is probably the key is to negotiate some type of pre or post possession. Okay, so I did this for one of my sellers. They sold their house, but in the contract, when the offer was done, I negotiated that they had 2 days to stay in the house before they had to move to the other one. So it had to do with talking about what negotiating skills do I have, what experience do I have in getting people the things that they need in order to make it as smooth as possible, because depending on the person and the dates, that may be different. So it's not a cookie cutter. So I think you talk about, and you also have to be honest, these are things, you know, when it comes to a closing, you know, if there's a delay with the closing of your buyer or you, I can control that. But what I can control is, who do I work with, okay? Who's gonna provide the best service, who's gonna provide the best communication, and make sure that we are solving problems before they come. Okay, yes?
I think you just said about communication, obviously is super important. You don't wanna, I mean, I don't wanna stay in temporary housing.
Right.
But I don't wanna find out the day that I just sold my house that I have to stay in temporary
Right.
housing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if I'm prepared for it, I'm gonna be a lot more.
Exactly.
amenable.
Exactly. So it's about letting people know what's going on. And that's where, really selling people on your lender and your title is gonna be super important. Because if you're saying, okay, we've got a really tight closing here, we wanna use somebody that I know is gonna be on top of things, let's use this title company, let's use this lender, you know, let's use this home inspector because I know that they will give me a priority appointment to get that inspection done, you know, as early as possible, and we're not writing a Benz on day 10, you know. So, and then it's a matter of communicating with those people and letting them know, hey, this is what we've got to get done, and you let them know that at the beginning of the contract, and you're reminding them, you know, we've got to get this closing done at this time because we've got this and this and this that we have to put into place. It's also letting your transaction coordinator know. This is another place where your transaction coordinator will be invaluable because they're going to be watching that as well. It's not just you. You know, you've just got another set of eyes on it. So I don't ever promise that I can do a simultaneous close. I'm not going to do that. What I will tell them is these are the things we can do to make this as smooth as possible. Because I can't control a simultaneous close. If I could, I would, but I can't. So you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. You want to do it the other way. You know, exceed expectations.
Is that something that can happen though usually?
It can, but it's tough. It's tough because here's what has to happen, okay? They have to close on the house that they're selling, okay? That closing and funding needs to be done in the morning, okay? So that there's time to do the closing and funding on their property by end of business, okay? Even if everything's going perfectly, I don't have control over when the county records on the first house. They could get the documentation at 8:05, but that doesn't mean that they're gonna communicate with title and say we've recorded that morning. The county's the county.
Do you usually tell them like to plan to have temporary housing for a few days to a week, or what do you usually?
Usually what I do is I look at it and say, it's gonna depend on kind of on where they're going, and also, can I negotiate a post-possession? Because in a seller's market, it's pretty easy to say to this buyer, hey, listen, we will, you know, we're gonna do this deal, but we need a 24-hour post-possession, we need a 48-hour post-possession, okay? These people want that house. And so that then becomes a really, you know, you look at the needs, and you look at the priorities of what your seller wants, and so, okay, well, maybe I'm willing to negotiate a little on that refrigerator, or I'm willing to negotiate on, you know, a home warranty or a closing cost concession, because I want that post-possession, okay? So, again, it's about what do you need, what do they need, finding a way to get everybody what they want, you know? One of the things that I do when I'm writing an offer is I'll call them up and I'll say, hey, I'm, you know, writing an offer, is there anything that's of particular importance to your seller so that we can keep that as a consideration when we write the offer, okay? You know, if they absolutely positively, you know, have to have their refrigerator, that's something that's super important to them, okay, I'm not gonna put that in the offer. I want my offer to be considered. So find out what's important to the other guy, because if you know that, that's power to you. Especially if something is really important to the other party, and it's like, okay, I really, you know, it's you know, you're representing a seller and the buyer says, I really, really want that refrigerator. And the buyer doesn't care. Say, okay, I'll put that in mind. You now have leverage to negotiate something that your clients care about anyway. So knowing what the other party wants, having that communication, even before you write the offer or when you're receiving the offer is great, because agents will tell you all kinds of stuff. You're really friendly and kind, and they'll tell you all kinds of stuff. I had an agent tell me about 2 offers that fell out of escrow, and he told me the amount of the contracts. This is awesome. You know? I was like, give me information that's gonna help my client. You know, it's like, really? You're really telling me this?
Yeah.
So that's why calling agents, you know, when you've got a client who's pretty interested in something and having a conversation with them is so powerful, because they'll tell you crap and you're just like, oh, that's crap. And then if they start telling you stuff, then you just kind of friendly and you keep the conversation going, see what else they'll tell you, you know? Because that's all information. If they're disclosing it, that's information you can use to negotiate the best deal for your client. So yeah, pick up the phone. Agents love it, you know. A lot of agents, especially once you've been in business for a long time, they just get so frustrated when agents won't call them back or they can't have an actual conversation. Because that communication just facilitates so much stuff. You never know what somebody's gonna say, and you're like, oh, well, you wanted that, well, I can do this, da, 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 da. And then all of a sudden you put something together that makes things better for everyone because you talked for 10 minutes. So, yeah, so be that one that makes the phone call. You'll definitely make an impression, you know. Sellers love it. You know, listing agents love it. So if you call them, if you talk to them, they're gonna be wanting to do business with you because you did the extra mile of dialing. Really? So it doesn't. The thing that gets me about real estate is it's way too easy to license. Okay, it takes 90 hours and a test. Okay. There's several of you who are in the cosmetology field. It takes what, a year of classes before you can get licensed? 9 months. You know, and
It's 1,600 hours.
thank you.
Licensed.
Yeah, so 1,600 hours versus 90, and you're talking about people's, the biggest asset they will ever have, okay? I personally think that the requirement should be much higher, because there's a lot of people in this business that have no business being there. Now, the one thing I will say that I love about Keller Williams is that we do a really good job of kind of weeding out the ones that don't belong here, because our standard of practice is so high. There's a lot of places where you can go and, just hand your license and do whatever. But it's pretty hard to get away with that here, because you've got Ignite and Bold and Script Practice and Focus on Success and ALC all in your face all at the same, all the time, So it's like, if you're not engaging all this stuff, you're probably gonna need your license somewhere else, So that's one of the things I love about Keller Williams is that they're like, hey, people, we're professional, we're gonna educate ourselves, we're gonna act like professionals, and we're gonna help other people learn how to be professional, It's not just we're gonna do this ourselves. We're gonna bring people up so that they're running their business at the next level. So yeah, I think it's too easy to get a license. That's just my opinion. I think there needs to be internship programs, there needs to be mentoring, because this is a lot. And learning how to have a real estate business and learning how to pass the real estate exam are 2 completely different things. Real estate school does not prepare you to have a real estate business, not even close. It prepares you to pass the test, But who cares about, 4 guys going 35 and a 60, It's like it's helpful to, but you can always find how big an acre is on Google, But learning how to talk to people, learning how to listen to people, learning the intricacies of their contracts, that's what will make or break you. So treat this like a business and run it. This is not a job. Most of us have had jobs where you go, you get a paycheck. You're an entrepreneur. You are a self-employed person, which means you're gonna spend a lot of time working and spending money and not getting paid anything. It takes time to build that pipeline, So, and you have to be disciplined. You have to say, okay, I now have my own business, I am my own employer, which means I need to be up and ready to lead generate and start that phone at 9 o'clock, or whatever it is that you've kind of put in your plan of how you're gonna do things. Because there's nobody there that's gonna tell you to do that. You have to tell yourself. And that's why you need to have a mentor, you need to have a coach, you need to have a night, because you need to have other people, because we can talk ourselves out of it. So, and you know what, if you decide this isn't for you, that's okay. You know, nobody can do everything. Nobody can be everything. And sometimes people start in real estate and they think, okay, it's gonna be like this, and then they're like, you know what, this just isn't a fit for me. That's okay. My husband would rather put pins in his eyes than be a realtor. I mean, he was making a job change a few years ago, and my mom said, well, do you think he'll come and work with you in real estate? I said, not if you don't want blood on the walls. Because it would be both of our blood. I mean, we'd kill each other. But I mean, he would be like the world's worst realtor. He's an engineer, you know, but yeah, so don't, you know, give it everything you have, but just like I could never do what my husband does, I could never be an engineer, I could never be a teacher, you know, I'm just not built that way, you know, grow where you're, you know, find what's good for you, and I hope that this is just the best decision you ever made, and that you grow and you flourish here. But I also know that, you know, you gotta find different things, and sometimes you land somewhere and it's like, this isn't a fit, you know, so go find what's a fit for you and go flourish there. So, okay, any questions? I've kind of gone off on, gosh, they're gonna fire me from this. They're like, did you follow anything in that manual? Okay, I tell you what, why don't we take like a 5-minute break? Let's go to the restroom, stretch, come back in about 5 minutes, and you guys can get your heads together, and so can I.
You mentioned focus on success earlier.
Yes.
Do you know if that's happening today?
It is not. I believe it is not happening today because of the holiday.
Okay.
So
I know they didn't have it last week, but.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I might have that backwards.
That's okay.
You know,
I'll probably just go and try it out.
Yeah, and you know what? If you can always go down to the desk, they can tell you. They'll know. Yeah.
They didn't know last week though. That's okay. So I'm just gonna check anyway.
Well, here. Let me text Steve.
It's not a big deal. I don't mind.
I'll just text him and say, is there focus on success today?
Is it always at the hub?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for checking.
Oh, no problem.
That's what I heard. Cowboys and Steelers. As like a tech person. I know what it was. It was the Cowboys and Steelers.
Yeah. Well, there's 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that just recently.
And the one was yours.
Was it?
In 95, yeah. The last one. The one that Cowboys won.
Do it. My friend does a presentation party. She was the one, she was the first friend that got 25.
$50 each time, and if you get the listings, then it's an additional $50. So he's like, I'm just making up all these appointments. I'm like, do what I gotta do, dude. His girlfriend was super nice. Yeah, he makes $60.
Yeah, no, I know what
He's
you
like,
mean.
that's what I'll do. She can send him to me.
Just say. I got you, no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wanna mix that up.
I gave him to him for 25, which they're over at current. So they're over. Yeah, and he was like, oh, he said to you. I mean, that's like, typically what, $80? It's like a dollar higher. Yeah, but he was saying that, I'm a little, and I was like, I don't understand. So he's got like a one report and everything. He said he found it. It's like in North Phoenix. He's supposed to like something, and he went for $160. So he's like you won't get paid for it or anything, but that will be running down. And then he said like 10%.
Yeah, they found a way
It's like
to
10% ownership more each year. He's not access to a bank account, so like if there is anything that specific happens to you, then he has to pay it. And I'm like, I just don't get how it's benefiting.
Sure.
Like,
So in circle prospecting, I'm doing both. So I've been, finding everybody's open houses because I'm new, so I don't have like a huge sphere, and I've been and it's been awesome. But now I am trying to figure out how to follow up with these people. I've met a couple like empty nesters that like one of them that I met out in Queen Creek wants to sell coming up, although it doesn't sound like his wife has been totally on board, because he wants to sell their single story and get into like a manufactured home, closer to the VA hospital, whatever. So I've been trying to send him the app, but he keeps saying that he can't open it. And so, but like, so when you follow up, like, what would you do next with this guy? He said that they might be ready after the first of the year to put the home on the market.
Have you had a buyer consultation with them yet?
No.
Okay, that would be my next step. Okay.
Okay.
Say, I know that you are looking to do something maybe after the first of the year. And I'd love to help you on whatever time frame you are. So a lot of times when people think when you're asking for an appointment, you're asking them to do business with you right now, and that's not the case.
Right.
What you're wanting is just to move to that next step in the process. Okay. Ask them, say, hey, when's the time that we can sit down and talk? And then that way I can know more about how I can help you. So, okay.
And are you going to go over like I'm trying to get a really like awesome buyer presentation, and I know the one in here, but something really good, and then I'm trying to get like the best listing presentation, but that's kind of my next step, because I'm making all these contacts, but I want to be able to go in there and present them with something that I feel is...
So are you looking at something from like more graphics, do more pictures?
Probably something that just maybe looks a little better than the bare bones.
Okay.
Okay. So, I mean, you're super successful. Like, how did you come up with your first? You did this, and it was fine.
Yeah. Bottom line, pictures are nice. They're hiring you.
Yeah.
Okay. They're hiring you.
Yeah.
Okay. These are tools, but they're hiring you.
Yeah. So I have a couple I've met sellers that are wanting to downsize. One wants to probably do the townhome thing, and one wants to do the manufactured home. And then in circle prospecting, a different open house, I met 2 renters right next door to each other. Really sweet. And you probably need to get back to it, but that are needing to buy within the next like 6 to 8 months. And so I'm just needing to do all this follow up. So.
Yeah. You know what? Barbie King says, I guess you say it, but it basically load the cart, doesn't matter if the horse is blind. Do it, don't have it be perfect. Okay? This stuff will do the job. It will absolutely do the job. Okay? So what I would do is get your buyer packets, your listing packets from KW. Make edits that you want, because you'll continue to edit them, print them and go. Okay? Get the appointment. okay? You know,
And then just kind of basically just get all their information on what they want to do.
yeah, and then, you know,
Set 'em up on a
set them
portal.
up, set 'em up on a portal, set them up on a search. And then, you know, touch base and say, hey, how's that going? Is there anything that's caught your eye? Do you have any questions? You know, one thing that I have found to be helpful, because if they're in a market where it's really, you know, houses are just flying off the shelves, you know, there's no, everything's just going really fast, I say, okay, I know you're not ready to buy something right now. Let's go spend an afternoon and let's just go look at stuff in your market, so that way you're very familiar with what's out there, okay? Because when your house goes under contract, you need to buy something now, you know, or they're going to be homeless. So they're not going in and just looking at houses, and they don't feel, and then they're just feel like they're doing it blind and super hurried. If they've looked at a few before, then when it's time to buy, it's a lot easier.
So this seller, the one that's in Queen Creek, he said, he goes, I probably want to maybe sell to an investor or something, because I'd want a couple months of post-possession, because we have,
yeah, you're welcome.
We have years of stuff to go through. So I'm just trying to figure out, like,
Yeah.
how that, you know, how it all works.
Well, and the reality is they're not going to get years of post-possession, okay? I mean, months of post-possession, okay? That's going to be very unlikely, you know.
Like a couple months
Okay.
of post-possession, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, is that even possible? Like,
It's not very realistic. So what I would do is say, you know what, most buyers aren't going to want to do that. So let's talk about what you want to do then is you want to get them excited about the new place, because going through all the crap is not fun, and they'll take forever, you know. But you want to get them excited about, you know. So it's like, okay, let's focus on that. Let's find out, you know, and you know, maybe even go look at some things, get them excited about it, and then say, okay, let's get your house on the market, and then give them some resources, you know, got junk, having Salvation Army come and, you know, come pick up stuff at their house.
I saw their
you know,
garage. I was literally just walking down the road, and when he said, "Yeah, I am thinking," I almost was like, "You are? Like really?" But I could see in his garage, they're not like hoarders. They just have tons of plastic bins,
Yeah.
very nicely organized.
Yeah.
But he's like, "We have 50 years of stuff to go through," and so I think he just feels
overwhelmed
with everything.
So, you know, again, then you're going to want to start chunking that down into pieces and giving them resources. So, okay. Okay, I want to get you guys out of here before 12, because I know that this is a really long morning and you guys are tired, and it's a short week. It's a short, no, not a problem. So, so I want to talk, did you guys print off the needs analysis and the buyer consultation packets? Okay, all right. These are on KW. They're in the Ignite curriculum, and just go into Module 7, and you'll find them, and you can download them. And like I said, they're completely editable, so you can make changes to them. Susan was saying, well, I want to do a really great, you know, I want to just make a really awesome buyer presentation. I want to make a really awesome listing presentation. And I said, well, you know, you like to talk about like a lot of pictures and graphics and stuff. And she's like, yeah. And she's like, what do you use? And I said, yes. Okay. And the reason is because, number one, I'm not a pretty person. And number two, they're not buying a consultation packet, they're buying you. Okay? So it's really about you making a connection with them. This is a tool to keep you on track, to make sure that you're covering all the information you need to cover, but that's all that it is, okay? If you do this and you're professional and you care about them, they're gonna hire you over somebody who has a really flashy, you know, thing, but they're not making any sense because they don't know the market, okay? So honestly,
Can you pass that around so we can
absolutely,
see it?
absolutely. Okay, so the first thing here is what's called a needs analysis. Okay, and it's basically a packet that has lots and lots of questions to ask people about what they're looking for in help.
And you said it's in the Ignite stuff?
Yeah, it's on KW. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so you can download it from the Ignite page in KW Connect.
Oh, okay.
It's not in the curriculum.
Right?
Oh.
It's way beneficial, you know, where you turn it up from, down at the bottom, it says additional resources.
for all the
Yeah,
business.
okay. It's like I knew it was there because I printed it off last night. Okay. So this is a lot of questions about what are they wanting in a home, okay? Now, a lot of these questions are maybe more geared to a higher end home, or people who have definitely more options as far as what they're looking for. Because let's face it, if you're gonna budget of $250,000, you know, if you're not gonna be looking at what kind of view you want, you know? Okay, so there's some things that you're gonna edit out. This is designed to make sure you cover everything, okay? So use this as your starting point, but obviously edit based on their needs, because you're not gonna wanna talk about mountain views in the middle of next time, okay? And this basically is a guide that makes sure that you cover everything. So have this when you're talking to them, and then just make notes, okay? The less you know them, the more questions you're going to need to ask. And one of the things that is really important is to be asking questions that are follow-ups. So I'll give you an example of when we bought our house. So we moved here from Kansas City, and my husband's lived in the Midwest his entire life, which means that the most important thing in the world is a basement. You know, they're like air. You know, you can't live in a basement. When you come to Arizona, there's no basements. So I talked with our realtor, and God bless her, she was the realtor my parents had used, and I look at what the services she's provided, and I'm like, you know. So she's like, well, what are the things that you need to have? I said, well, I need a 3-bedroom den or a 4-bedroom. I need a vaulted ceiling, and I need a 3-car garage. Okay, well, she didn't ask me why, you know, okay. The 4-bedroom den just really had to do with needing an office and a guest room and a room for our son, you know, because I did a lot of work from home. She didn't know that. Okay, she didn't know how important it was for me to have a space for me to put all of my work crud, you know. And the 3-car garage, absolutely a necessity. My husband's losing his basement, we need the extra garage space. It's like, if it doesn't have a 3-car garage, don't show it to me, okay? Has to have a vaulted ceiling, okay? Well, the reason it has a vaulted ceiling is my husband's a hunter, okay? So we have these large racks of animals that look like this, you know? So we have Ernie, and we have Fred, and we have Shirley. And we're about to get 2 antelope, okay? Okay, not my thing, you know? But you can't hang elk mounts unless you have a vaulted ceiling, okay? Because they're really, really big, you know? So she started, you know, she showed me some houses. Well, first of all, she showed me a lot of houses didn't have a vaulted ceiling because she hadn't been inside of them, you know? Or she hadn't looked at the listing enough to know if it had the vaulted ceilings, you know? So there were houses that I walked into and I'm like, I was out, because it's like, this is a must-have. This is a requirement, you know? I married a hunter with a truck whose favorite color is camo, you know? So I need the vaulted ceiling. So I ended up looking at a lot of houses that just, it's like, it wasn't a match because she didn't even look to see if it had the criteria that I needed, okay? So you wanna say, so somebody says, okay, so why is that important to you? It's like, well, because my husband's a hunter, and because he has these, you know, he has these large animals. He's like, oh, well, tell me what's most important to your husband about hunting. It's like, well, that's like that's his recreation. That's his peaceful place. That's like, you know, getting into the outdoors. That's, you know, where he connects with God and just is his best self, you know. And then say, okay, well tell me more about that. Well, my husband's been involved in a conservation charity called the Rocky Mountain Foundation for about 25 years. And so having the extra office space also gives us a place to store the raffle tickets and the merchandise and all this stuff that he uses for the fundraisers that he does. So if she had asked some questions and had asked some follow-ups, tell me more about that. What's important to you about that? Okay, you're gonna learn a lot more about their values and who they are and why those things are important than just the 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a 2-car garage. You know. Other things we said we'll take a house with a pool, but we really prefer not to have a pool. Why is that? We have a toddler. Okay, we don't want, you know, that's just not something that we're comfortable with. Now if somebody said we want a pool, it's like, well, if it's not 25 yards long, it doesn't matter, because if it's not 25 yards long, my son has no use for it. You know, you have to be able to do a flip turn at each end. You know? Okay, so take the time to ask those questions and tell me more about that. What's important to you about that? Because you're going to learn things about them that you're going to be able to connect with them, and you're going to be able to ask them questions about the things that are important in their lives, and they're going to feel like you care, and you're going to become a favorite person. So there's a real purpose to it. It's really about connecting with them as people. Okay? So this is a copy of the needs analysis. This is the buyer presentation, and again, this is something that you can customize, but this is really important for first-time home buyers, because you're gonna be able to go over kind of the process, and then this is something that they can keep, and you're gonna say, hey, refer back to your buyer book, because it's gonna talk about the next step, which is, okay? Anytime somebody's in a contract or they're looking for a home, I always have two things to tell them in a phone conversation or face-to-face conversation. Number one, you're gonna say, this is what we're doing, this is our next step. Always gonna tell them what's next. And then the second thing you're gonna say is there anything that I can do to help you? Okay, what questions do you have? How can I be of help? And then through the process, you're gonna be asking for referrals, one of the things that I ask is say, okay, I'm going to be asking you how I'm doing, because if I don't ask, I don't know. Am I giving you what you need here? So I'm going to ask, hey, how am I doing? Is what I'm doing working for you? Is this helpful? And usually they're going to say, oh, you're awesome, it's great. Well, once they've said you're awesome, that's the perfect time to say, hey, who else do you know that might have some questions about real estate? One of the things that I say a lot is, I'll talk about buying, selling, or investing, but I'll also say, maybe somebody has questions about their air conditioner, or they need an insurance guy, or they need a roofer, or, they're wondering, they have questions about their tax report. If it's house related, I either know it or I know somebody who does. And I don't care if they don't want to buy or sell, but if they don't have somebody who can be a resource to them, and I can be that resource, awesome, okay? Because I'm now the realtor that they know, and even if they stay in their house for the next 20 years, they're going to refer me, because I'm the person that they can call, and I can always get the help that they need. So just be there for people. So I'm going to let you guys go through these. These are things that you're going to want to practice, and like I said, and normally we would do that in this class, but I got way wordy and off on squirrels, so we're not going to have time to do that. But do you guys have script partners? Do you guys have people that you're talking to, that you're working with on your scripts? Okay. Your dog. Your dog is awesome for several reasons. Number one, you can say anything and they won't ever correct you. It's really hard to have the conversation as far as the back and forth, unless you got a really smart dog.
In which case, sell that dog, you'll make millions.
Yeah, exactly. There is actually a talking dog on Facebook. If you're ever looking for a good laugh, search Tanner Rants. The dog's name is Tanner, and these are his rants. And he has like 25,000 followers on Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like hysterical. So if you ever need a good laugh, look for Tanner Rants. So, script partners. You need to find somebody that you are working with on your scripts and dialogues. Okay. And you want somebody that you can call up, you can have a conversation for 15 minutes on a daily basis, every other day, but several times a week, and you guys are reversing roles, client realtor, to deal with the dialogues that you're going to have in your consultations and handling objections, okay? Because the more you practice, which is ridiculously uncomfortable, and everybody feels like a dork. And that's true, I'll just be honest, everybody feels like a dork. But you get to feel like a dork with somebody else who feels like a dork. So you guys can just, commiserate together. But the more you practice, the more that these things just start falling off your tongue. And instead of sounding, everybody says, I read the script and it sounds canned. It sounds like it's not me. Well, it's not you, you didn't write it, okay? But the more you practice it, the more it becomes comfortable, and then you can tweak it a little bit to make it more like you. So learn it the way that it's written, so that you get all the information and you're following, because the cadence of all of this is actually very well planned out, especially with the embedded commands. But the more you practice, then the more it just becomes you. It's like riding a bike or learning any other new skill. At the beginning, you just feel like a dork. So, get over it, because that's how you become successful. So get yourself a script partner. Danette does script practice in here. What days is she doing script
I
practice?
think it's bullpen. It was this morning at 8:30.
Okay.
And I got it the other day.
Okay. Look on the calendar. Excuse me. And meet with Danette. She is a master. Oh my gosh, the woman is a master when it comes to scripts. And she's really good at coaching people on, she'll ask you a question and you'll give her a response. And then she's not going to tell you what to say. She's going to ask you questions that help you fine tune and refine what you're doing. So she's awesome. Okay, so needs analysis. You're going to go over that with your buyer and your buyer consultation. The next thing I want to talk to you about is the buyer broker and the agency agreement. And I think I passed those out. So I think I put the extra in my book. Okay, awesome. Okay, so you're doing your buyer consultation. You've met with them. You've talked with them. They want to hire you. The next step is to get the buyer broker agreement and the agency disclosure signed. Okay. Now, what I tell people is that I said, we'll just have a couple of documents that we're going to go over today to get your file opened. Pretty low key. Okay. So you want to go over the buyer broker agreement, the agency agreement. Start with the agency agreement. It's the shortest, and basically say this is where are my glasses? Thank you. This is the agreement that explains the relationship between you and our brokerage, Keller Williams Integrity First. The disclosure that you're going to be talking about as a buyer broker is actually lines 6 through 11. Okay, and you're going to talk about that you're going to be receiving compensation for services, but they're going to be paid through the seller's broker. So make it clear that yes, you're going to get paid, but that the seller is actually paying you. It comes from the seller's portion of the funds from the transaction. So having a buyer's agent doesn't cost you anything. Okay, it is paid for by yourself. However, my fiduciary is to you. Okay, my responsibility is to look out for your best interests. So that's one thing that sometimes people don't understand. They think that because you're getting paid through the seller's funds that you're working for them. You want to make it really clear. My job is to work for you. One of the things that I do in my value proposition, and this is just me personally, this is just how I've chosen to do my business, is that I will not represent a buyer and seller in the same transaction. Okay? It's perfectly ethical, it's perfectly legal. A lot of people do it. A lot of people do it very well. Okay? I've just chosen not to do that because if I have a listing and somebody calls me and says they're interested in the listing, they don't have an agent, I will show them the property. I will talk to them, but if they say, hey, I'm really interested in this home, they want to write an offer on it, I'm going to refer them to someone else in our office, okay? And when I do that, I charge a 50% referral fee because all I'm doing is I'm literally saying, here, have a transaction, boom, okay? Now, so I have now gotten my 3%, I'm getting the 1.5% on the buyer side, okay? Because I've just handed you a deal. Would you take it? Would you do fair?
Done.
Done.
No,
Exactly.
no.
I mean, and I talked to Jim about this. I said, "Is that fair?" He's like, "Well, that's more than fair." So for 4.5%, I get the deal done, and nobody ever questions my loyalty or who I'm representing. Okay, because I have handed that client over to another agent. And that agent, you're now responsible, your fiduciary is to the buyer that I found, okay? Okay, so at the end, everybody's happy, okay? And nobody thinks badly of me in any way, shape, or form. The other side is that I could say, okay, I'm gonna do both sides of the transaction. I'm gonna take the full 6%. Well, first of all, my seller's probably gonna be like, really? You know, you want 6%? Then I want a deal on it, you know, because you've got the buyer, so let's do 5, okay? So my 6% has now become 5%, okay? And what are the chances that I'm gonna do everything perfectly? I ain't perfect, so I'm probably not gonna do everything perfectly, okay? Even if I do everything right, the chances are somebody's gonna walk away with this, well, maybe she said this way, and maybe I didn't quite get the best deal over here with the home warranty, and maybe, you know, they should have paid for their own home warranty. And there's always going to be this little thing in the back of their head that's like, well, this could have been a little bit better. It's been a little bit different, you know. So I would rather take 4.5, and there's no situation where there's a question of my fiduciary and somebody's going to sue me because they think I did something wrong even if I didn't. So I have just eliminated legal complications, and I've eliminated perception complications. And if the buyer's agent, you know, maybe they're newer and maybe they join a team later, or maybe they don't stay in contact with that client and I do, and maybe they get out of real estate, I still have the client, okay? So that's just my value proposition, and so that's one of the things that I tell people when I'm working with buyers and sellers. I do not represent a buyer or seller transaction. I will refer them, okay? And I've had people that have said, I want to work with you because I know that your loyalty is 100% to me. Okay, so again, that's just my choice. When you're talking about the agency agreement, you want to go over the things in section 1, particularly on the fiduciary duties of loyalty, obedience, disclosure, confidentiality, and accounting in all dealings, okay? That means that you have to be looking out for them. You have to do what they want you to do. You're their representative. You have to disclose information about everything that's pertinent about the transaction, about the house. You have to maintain their confidentiality, and you have to do all the math right, okay? And at the bottom, lines 34 and 36, you're going to explain that you're going to be representing the buyer as the buyer's broker, but you are also going to show them properties that are also listed with Integrity First. So even though the Kenny Klaus team is representing the seller and I'm representing the buyer, we all work under Jim's license, okay? And I literally make the umbrella, you know? So everybody knows we're all working under the same umbrella, okay? And I tell people I love doing transactions with other Integrity First agents because I know they do good work, you know? So again, they understand the limited dual agency of the brokerage. They understand whose fiduciary is whose, that you're representing the buyer, and that agent who may still be in our office is representing the seller, okay? So that's your agency disclosure. The second is the buyer-broker agreement, and this is where they are hiring you to be their agent, okay? You're going to go through this with them as well. I usually do a buyer-broker agreement for 6 months because I don't know how long it's going to take to buy them a house. If they don't want 6 months, I don't care. This is an agreement that can be canceled at any time, okay? I always tell people a listing agreement, a buyer-broker agreement is you can cancel it at any time. Because if they don't want to work with me, I don't want to hold them to something because now they're miserable and I'm miserable and everybody's miserable, okay? I'd rather just us part friends or not friends or whatever and move on than hold people to an agreement that they don't want to be in, okay? So I always let them know. And some people have said, well, can you put that in the agreement? Absolutely. You know, if you really write can be canceled, you know, with written notice, you know, of the buyer or seller, I'll just write that right into the agreement, okay? Another line that's important here is line 28. The amount of compensation shall be, I always put in 3% because that's typically what is going to be offered through the MLS, okay? You're going to see some 2.5%, okay? And I handle this one of two ways. If I have a buyer that is getting down payment assistance, or I know is super, super tight on down payment or funds, then I'm not gonna ask them for the additional 100%, okay? If I know that they've got some wiggle room there, I will say the first thing I'm gonna do, if there's a listing that comes up that's at less than 3%, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let you know about it, okay? And then you can decide if you wanna see the house or not, okay? If you decide on the house and they're only providing or offering me a 2.5% commission, then you would pay the additional 1.5% at closing, okay? So that's for the client who actually can do that, we can still get the deal done, okay? If they can't, I'm gonna let them know, or not, I think there's been times I didn't even tell them, you know? But I'm not gonna let 1.5% stand in the way of my client getting the house that they want. You know, I'm gonna not say, oh, well, I'm not gonna show you this house, you know. And my fiduciaries to them, my responsibility is to help them get the best house that they want. And frankly, I don't care about 0.5% of a commission when my job is to build a relationship with a client for life. And so I'm going to end with something that I did when I first started teaching Ignite. I haven't done this for several years, but I wanted to go back and see how much business I got off of one open house. Now, I held this house open several times, so it wasn't just one day, okay? But this was one home that that Steve Tuter had, and the seller was single, and he was never at the house, and so he was like, you know, hold it open whenever you want. I held it open a bunch of times. So the first year that this was right after I got started, so this was in 2014, and I'm not going to write out all of the names because it would take forever. But the house was actually purchased by a couple whose last name was Rasmussen. And it turns out that they had seen the sign call. They had done a sign call in Steve's office, but it was Steve's birthday. He didn't want to show the house. So he called me. He says, hey, do you want to go show this house? And we showed a bunch of different houses, and they ended up buying the house that I was holding the open house on that was Steve's listing in the first place, which doesn't happen very often. It was kind of fun. Okay, so this one house in Red Mountain Ranch, I held open several times. In the first year, I got Now this was either because I was door knocking the neighborhood and I met people, or I met them at the open house, or I put a flyer on a door and they listed their house with me because I had door knocked it.
Was this your first year?
This is my first year. So this is my volume off of that one open house.
Awesome.
Okay? Now,
That was all within the year?
that was all this was all my first year. Okay. Yeah, so this, I started doing this open house probably like in February, and this was my volume on it through the end of the year of contacts that I made, you know, okay? And I won't give you all the, but, so this is in 2014. Okay, so in 2015, again, for people I either met or got referrals on because I had met them at this open house. So I made sure they were directly connected to the open house. That was 3 transactions here. Okay, so it's 2 transactions. One of which was the Rasmussens who sold the house. They bought it for me in 2014. They sold it in 2016. So that was a twofer right there. years, this is the volume I got off of that one open house. Okay? And it's just contacting people, following up, and letting it go from there. You know? And I didn't even know how much I had gotten from it until I was teaching a class and I was like, okay, I need to add this up, and I was like, oh dang. You know? So, yeah. And hey, Barbie.
How's it going?
It's going awesome. Oh, Debbie, come in.
Hello, how are you guys? Hi. Hello, hello.
So I'm gonna let Debbie wrap us up here. Okay. So this is Debbie Marquez from Title Alliance. Her office is right over here, and I invite you guys to come over and visit their office because they have really good snacks.
We do.
Yeah. If you're ever hungry,
And
just
coffee.
Go, and coffee,
And coffee.
and
And
water,
real
and
cream.
sodas.
As you guys know, I
And
bring real cream to mine because
if you need wine, then you need to go see Barbie.
I do have this right here. I also
Fully
have a
stocked
bottle
in my rough afternoon.
This is Barbie King. She is the head of King and Associates. She and her sister Mary Newton are a team, and they do a lot of luxury properties. They do a lot of 55 plus community properties. Barbie or Mary has been on the ALC since I've been here in the last 5 years.
9 years we've been ALC.
I was going to say 9 years. Okay, because I've only been here 5.
9
So
years in December.
okay.
We're old.
So anyway, if you're looking for a good laugh, you need to talk to Barbie. Barbie's she's just hilarious.
She's hilarious.
And she's into wine. So if you like wine, you can always talk to Barbie. She's always buying wine, going someplace to find wine, drinking wine.
I just got a case delivered today. It's in my office.
Because you got to have it delivered here, not to the house, because you don't want to get too hot or
Well,
have
they
somebody
won't
take
need
it.
They
Yeah.
have to have,
You have to have somebody sign
21-year-old
for it.
sign, and I
Yeah.
think Janine down at the front desk is 21 now. So she
Yeah.
can sign
Just
up
last
for it.
week.
I know.
Yeah. So, okay, lots and lots of squirrels here. Okay, so Debbie is the head of Title Alliance here, and she is the escrow officer. Has helped me on a lot of my escrows. She works also very closely with Mark Herbal. They have a great
Yes.
relationship.
Love
So
Mark.
it's great when you have everybody well connected and communicating well and enjoying working with each other. Just makes your life a lot easier. So I would like her to tell a little bit about Title Alliance, and then I will let you guys go. And thank you so much for putting up with all my squirrels.
Thank you. So in previous classes I haven't mentioned before, we do have a title app net sheets. So seller net sheets, buyer net sheets. I also like to teach a class on how to do it by hand, because it's awesome when you go in to visit a client and you know exactly where to put numbers in. That just means you're just that much more prepared for your client when you go to that listing appointment. So I am going to be bringing back that class. It'll be a lunch and learn, how to use the app, and also how to do net sheets by hand, old school. I've been in 24 years, so we used to have to do them by hand. There was no apps. But you'll have a set form, and it kind of gives you what questions to ask your seller. So I will be bringing that class back at the beginning of the year. But if you want to go visit me, we can go over title app or seller net sheets if you'd like. Yep, and today is the last day to sign up for Tony G. If you guys have not, it is a free class. We have about 186 people going from throughout the city. So it is a good class. You don't want to miss it. And Carly, you already signed up. Yes, you are. Saw your name on there. I know, I'm skimming through. All right, well, you guys have a great week. I know it's a short week. Make some sales.
Woo! Go team.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Last thing, when I was actually making copies of the buyer broker and the agency agreement, I saw this on the printer. I don't even know who it was, but I was like, this is so awesome. You know, everybody's talking about Open Door and OfferPad and all this kind of stuff, and the costs that are incurred when you use that company. And this is right, like, puts out all the different costs that there are. So it's the commissions, it's the closing costs on both sides, it's the repairs, and it's their service fee. So when you add all of that up, that's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 15% of the purchase price that you're paying to use Opendoor. And I'm like, holy guacamole. Is there a reason that people are just handing their money over to them? And really? So anyway, I saw that. I don't know who had printed it, but I saw it and I made a bunch of copies so that you guys could have it. So thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
And you guys have my card if you need anything. Like I said, always glad to help. If you ever see one of my listings and you want to do an open house, call me, let me know if they are doing open houses, if it's available, and you guys are welcome to hold them open. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have any response?
Let me see. Not today.
It's not happening today?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for
Yes.
sharing.
No.
No, I'm happy to do that.
Because it's on here, prior to right now.
I think I will stay that
Let
way.
me paint.
Hey. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Are you through with class or not?
Yes, we are done.
Is it okay if I have the people that are taking it to school, can they come in and get some?
Of course. I'm. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm getting ready to head out. So.
No, it's all.
The only thing the buyers want done is termites, which is an unusual, so and so we're just waiting, they're not gonna clue either, they're taking these. So we're just waiting. Okay. And then after that, it's just the appraisal, and then the final, then it, so we're getting there. Yeah.
That's exciting. So do you feel more confident like after this is done?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely after getting through an actual transaction, it makes a big difference to kind of know what to expect. Yeah, to know what to expect, I know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think it's, yeah, it's good. I'm excited.
They come bearing gifts.
Oh, great. Thank you.
And the extras on.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
See ya.